If you over rely on AI, then I think over time you're allowing yourself to think less.
It seems like a bad thing now because we're at the start of this change. Back in the day, when people would actually go to uni and they'd write their essays, they'd actually have to like go to libraries and get books and stuff like that, and then cite those books when they're doing their essays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Whereas now, the way things work is you actually don't have to do that because you can just find your sources for your essays on the internet and then cite those.
And I think the danger that comes with that is an over-reliance on AI to think for you.
Okay guys, welcome back to another episode of Echats. Today we've got David back on. David, you want to quickly give an intro?
I'm David, and what do you want me to say?
That's all they need to know, to be honest. That's all that matters. But yeah, today we're going to be asking some rapid fire questions on the topic of AI and whether it's good or bad. And we're going to be looking at some of the like philosophical, ethical questions around that topic as well. So we're going to get straight into it. David, the first question I have for you is, do you think AI can ever be truly conscious?
It can definitely mimic consciousness.
Yeah.
So I think within like the next 5 to 10 years, AI will be able to replicate like a lot of basic human cognitive function, or like it can mimic the way we think. I think that will be possible within like the next.
Do you actually know this, or you just like
It's this is based off of what I've watched, so I think it's speculation. I think no one really knows where AI would go exactly. So there's a lot of speculation anyway.
Yeah.
If you look at the way like technological advancement goes, I think it points towards the fact that AI can become close to human consciousness.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it can. Again, like it depends what you define as consciousness.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Yeah.
I'm tempted to ask you what you define as consciousness. Do you have an answer to that, or is that too big of a question?
Consciousness, being able to think, being able to perceive how you interact with other conscious beings.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's also okay if you don't actually know the answer.
Yeah, I'll be real. I don't.
It's a big question.
I don't know the exact definition.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can pull up a definition, but
I probably could, but no, I can't because I'm not connected to the Wi-Fi. So
okay, that's all right then. But consciousness is I think even like some scientists struggle to understand how like AI can replicate human consciousness. I think is a very big question. And like it links back to like the whole what's it called, Turing test, or
what's that? Is that like the test where you test if like a bit of technology is real or like conscious?
Yeah, so like if an AI robot can pass for a human, basically. Yeah, what kind of test do you have to go through to prove that an AI robot is able to sufficiently fool you that it's a human?
Cool. Another thing I kind of want to get your opinion on is, do you think like the advances that have happened with AI recently, do you think they're good or bad? Like overall, are you positive about the way things are going with AI, or are you sort of like, this isn't good, this is a net negative?
I think it's absolutely a net positive.
I swear?
Yeah, I think it's a net positive for sure.
Okay.
I think one thing that, like for example, ChatGPT, I was watching Joe Rogan's podcast, shout out to Joe Rogan. But he was saying, no, was it him or his guest? But I think his guest was saying that technology like ChatGPT is essentially reducing the technology gap between like the wealthy and like the not so wealthy. So anyone can use ChatGPT. Okay. It's easy to use. If you don't know how to use it, you can ask it how to use it. Yeah. And there's no other tool in the history of like mankind that has worked like that. Where
how's that reducing like the wealth gap?
No, it's reducing the gap in terms of access to AI, so access to technology.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so a poor man can use ChatGPT just as easily as a wealthy person can.
Oh, okay.
So I think in terms of it being a net positive, I think it kind of evens the playing field. Like everyone has access to AI. I mean, you have like the premium subscription, but everyone has access to like a base level.
Yeah. And
there isn't really a lot of examples that are like that.
Okay. I'm surprised that you think overall AI is like a net positive, because I feel like when we have conversations on like our group chat or like group FaceTime calls, I feel like I'm the one always saying like AI is good and like it's a net positive. Like we don't need to. I'm always saying stuff like we don't need to read books anymore because AI is kind of like,
you go a bit too far though. You go a bit too far.
Why is that?
I think it's too far because I think you can embrace AI, but you can also understand the need to preserve your own ability to think and the ability to work things out for yourself. If you over rely on AI, then I think over time you're allowing yourself to think less.
But
Like you're willfully thinking less, and
But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it seems like a bad thing now because we're at the start of this change. But I feel like if you think about other sort of like other technological revolutions that have happened throughout history, let's take
the internet.
let's take the internet.
Yeah.
So back in the day, when people would actually go to uni and they'd write their essays, they'd actually have to like go to libraries and get books and stuff like that, and then cite those books when they're doing their essays and stuff like that. Whereas now, the way things work is you actually don't have to do that because you can just find your sources for your essays on the internet and then cite those. So it's like back in the day, you could have argued like, oh no, you have to. You're losing your ability to scour through libraries and find the right books that you need to like do your essays and stuff like that. But you don't need to do that anymore. That's not even the best example. There's so many different examples I can give. Like even like with driving, we were kind of talking about that today. Like back in the day, if you wanted to do a long drive across the country, you would need to actually know how to use a map. But I feel like if you're still trying to use a map just to be able to like say like, oh, I can still use a map, it's like it's a bit redundant because there's technology now. There's like Google Maps, there's Waze, there's all this GPS sat nav technology that makes driving across the country way easier. And if it's there, you might as well use it. So to an extent, I feel like if you don't have to think as much as you used to, then that's not necessarily a bad thing because there's now technology that has made you able to not have to use as much like thinking faculties as you used to use.
I think I understand where you're coming from, but I think what makes this different is AI is peculiar in terms of technology that we've ever experienced. Like there hasn't been anything else like this where humans are actually super dependent on this technology, and
I think there's a lot of things we're super dependent on right now.
No, but there's nothing quite like AI. And in terms of where it can go, there's nothing that has been like this. Like ChatGPT basically blew up overnight practically. There hasn't really, like, the internet was one thing, but AI is like a whole another ballpark. And I think the danger that comes with that is an over-reliance on AI to think for you. And I think the danger with that is once you can't really distinguish your own thoughts from like thoughts that were produced by ChatGPT, then it's like a question of identity. Like, who even are you if you can't think for yourself? You have to rely on some computer or some program to think for you, to bring up ideas for you. Where does originality go? Where does creativity go? Like, what kind of art are we going to produce if all our inspiration is coming from a program, essentially?
Fair enough.
I think, I think that's where I find the danger to be, is over-reliance. I think you definitely use it, but I think you also need the self-awareness to understand that at the end of the day, like, nothing can replace your own human thought process. And I think that's something you should value and try to hold on to. If that makes sense.
That's a fair point. Do you feel like that's something you've noticed happening in society already now? Like, people
like
their capacity to think.
For sure. Like, I notice it with myself when I'm, for example, like drafting like a piece of work for uni, for example, and I notice that I go to ChatGPT very frequently.
Sure, you want to say this?
Like I use ChatGPT to plan and to do tasks that without ChatGPT I would have done quite easily. But I'm still, I don't know, I'm using the technology to help me. But I think in the back of my mind, I'm still I'm aware of the fact that without this technology, how exactly would I have come about this end result?
If you like this episode, we're going to be doing more things like this. We're going to be talking about like philosophical concepts, trying to apply them to modern day situations. If that's the kind of stuff you want to be seeing, make sure to like, comment, subscribe and all of that stuff. Also, there's going to be a link in the description to a community I'm starting. It's a new online community where you guys can talk about conversations like this. Might even do live video calls as well. If that's something you're interested in, check that out as well. Okay, let me give you like another situation in which I think you kind of do the same thing, but you're not as worried about that.
Okay.
So let's say I asked you right now, work out 2,253 times 29.
Yeah.
How are you going to work that out?
I'll use a calculator.
Exactly. Is that bad?
It's not bad.
Like, could you have just done it yourself, like with your
Yeah,
mind
like if you
part
gave me a pen and paper, I
Yeah.
would have worked it out.
But you're not going to do that.
No.
So a future in which...
But let's say if AI or calculators disappeared off the face of the earth,
I always say this.
the ability to know how to work that out
Yeah.
on pen and paper is absolutely essential.
I get where you're coming from, and I always hear this example. Like, let's say, you know, it's always like, oh, what are you gonna do if like this technology disappears or that technology disappears? Like, you're driving and your sat nav's not there, or you know, like, what if AI disappears? What are you gonna do? But I just feel like that's a very unrealistic future situation you're gonna find yourself in, and I don't think it's a good enough reason to not embrace the changes as much.
I think the difference is like
calculators are never going to disappear. As well. Like, you know that.
Okay, but I think the difference is like every other technological tool is a tool, so it's helping you perform a certain task. But I think with AI, where it's going is it can actually replace thinking altogether, and I think that's a fundamental human thing, like the ability to think. And if you take that away, like a calculator. That's very different from a calculator, if you understand what I'm saying. Because a calculator is a tool to help you solve a certain problem. But if you're completely reliant on AI altogether, then I think you lose a part of your human nature, which is how you think, why you even think certain things, why you ask certain questions, curiosity. I think is a very slippery slope. Yeah. And I think once AI is fully matured, one of the most scarce things would be the ability to think or develop thought processes without the use of AI. So actually being able to think for yourself.
To be fair, like you're touching on a good point. Even though I'm trying to like push back a bit and play devil's advocate, I do get where you're coming from. And it reminds me of something I saw online that's talking about how like, literally the reason why AI is the most sort of like almost dangerous technology we've come across is because it is replacing one of the most fundamental like human like aspects of being a human, which is like thinking, like cognitive stuff and like reasoning and stuff like that. And that kind of links to another question I want to ask you. Do you feel like AI is gonna replace your job? Because basically, apparently, we're potentially gonna face the most job losses we faced ever in human history, because there's been other technological revolutions in history where like, you know, factory work gets replaced or farm work gets replaced or stuff like that. The problem with this is like, this is going to replace like human thinking, which could be applied to loads of jobs, especially like the knowledge sector, which after the Industrial Revolution, like the knowledge sector kind of become one of the biggest sources of employment, you know, like all these like white collar jobs, or not even just white collar jobs, like a lot of jobs that just require you to think and stuff like that. So people are saying like the problem is if AI can do that, what's the point of employing humans to do that now? So I'm curious, what's your thoughts? Do you feel like your job's at stake or not?
Not my job, but so going back to that Joe Rogan episode I was talking about, the CEO of NVIDIA was saying that AI is only a threat to your job if your job is the specific tasks that AI is performing. So for example, if AI is being used to, let me give an example. So radiologists, for example, they look at pictures of, they look at scans of like cancer and try and determine a diagnosis for the patient. So there was some speculation that radiologists would lose their jobs, or there'll be far fewer radiologists in total because of AI. AI will be able to look at these images and diagnose what the patient has or doesn't have. But the opposite has happened. Like, I think since AI has been used in that industry, there's been more radiologists in the US, that is. So I think that points to the fact that your job is only at threat if your job is the task. If your job is more than the task, then I think you're safe. So like a radiologist's job is to give a diagnosis to the patient.
Yeah.
So AI currently doesn't do that. It just looks at the image and produces information based on the image. It doesn't diagnose the patient. So that's the radiologist's job, and that's why there are still more radiologists and their jobs are safe. So I think as long as your job is over and beyond the task that AI is performing, then you're safe.
I get where you're coming from, but the point that a lot of people that are like, I guess, more fearful of AI are saying is that AI doesn't just replace one task, because it can essentially like think for itself, or like in the future might really be able to think for itself, like with AGI. I don't actually know what that is.
AGI. So that's
like
artificial general intelligence.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there can be a future where, for example, with the radiologist example, where AI is able to perform a diagnosis based on looking at a scan of like a cancer cell. And I think once that's achieved, then yeah, radiologist jobs might be in jeopardy. But I don't know, AGI is, there's a lot of speculation around AGI in terms of when it will be achieved and if it's even possible. But yeah, I think there will be a lot of changes if AGI is achieved anyway, in terms of jobs and how our whole ecosystem works.
First. If you like this video, like, comment, subscribe. Check out our online school community. There's going to be a link in the description down below. Other than that, thanks for watching. Do you believe in this thing that people are talking about? Like, there's going to be like universal income now once AI progresses so much, and then it's like there's almost no jobs left, so people might just get paid.
Yeah, so Elon Musk, he's sort of dreaming about a future where his robots are able to produce resources at a capacity where we'll be living in a post-scarcity world. So there's enough abundance for everyone to have a universal basic or high income. I'm not sure how feasible it is or what it means in terms of like social, economic, I guess, effects from that. But I don't know. I think there will always be some sort of inequality. So if there's a wealth of resources, then I think the distinction between ordinary and luxury will become something different. So maybe it's how many robots you're able to control. Or, I don't know. There'll always be some sort of distinction, because I think humans, you kind of have to organize yourselves in terms of resources. So I think the way that happens might just become different. But
yeah,
I'm not sure if it's possible. I'm not sure if a universal basic or high income is possible globally. I'm not sure.
Interesting. I mean, we're just like theorizing, innit? Like, let's say it is possible. I guess another like more philosophical question around that is because essentially at that point people will kind of just be getting paid to exist. And do you think like that's a good thing for humans to just be paid to like just be out here living life? And you feel like we might lose meaning without like struggle and labor and stuff like that?
I think the way that we're set up, what we do is like quite a big part of our identity.
Yeah.
So if you meet someone, you're most likely going to ask them what they do for a living, and then that might spring up a whole conversation. But I think we find meaning in what we do, and we like sort of pride ourselves in what we're good at doing. So if you're able to just exist without doing anything or without developing competency in a specific industry or sector, I think there might be even more of a meaning crisis than we have now, which could have like, I don't know, multiple different effects.
Just for people watching that aren't aware of that, what do you mean by there's a meaning crisis?